In 2004, Far Cry was released by Ubisoft to largely positive reviews. It did some new things. Wide open levels in a first-person game, incredible draw distances, a mix of vehicle segments and FPS action, and an attempt at first-person stealth. And when it came out, I bet the people at Techland lost their collective shit. Why? About 5 months earlier, their own Chrome, a remarkably similar game, was received with nowhere near the same enthusiasm. Chrome is a rare element used in terraforming. Everybody wants it, it's worth a lot of money, and it comes in barrels. And that's all you need to know, because it doesn't come up very often. You play as Bolt Logan, who despite having the cooler name, is treated like a rookie by his buddy, Ron Pointer.
Follow me, and everything will be A-okay.
In the combination prologue and training level, Pointer betrays you and Logan is narrowly rescued by Carrie, whose background is never explained in the course of the game. After that, you become a mercenary in name only. Maybe it's just me, but my idea of playing as a mercenary involves choosing missions and managing finances and equipment, sort of like MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries. Or Mercenaries. This is justified by Carrie being in charge of the business and logistics end of the mercenary outfit.
You're alive because of my professional backup.
She picks the missions and must be in charge of requisitions because you only get minimal input on your equipment before each level. Logan has got to be the laziest mercenary in history. He just goes along with whatever Carrie decides and only makes one decision in the entire game. More on that later. Carrie and Logan are both very annoying characters and are constantly bickering in a manner I'm sure the writers thought was clever.
Oh man, if you'd checked it before I got here, I wouldn't be in this mess.
You shouldn't have been so cheap about getting new scanners.
Most of the dialogue is weak, painful to listen to, and the insults never go past 4th grade vocabulary.
Yeah.
Just turn off that generator, cranky pants.
As you might have seen in my video on Secret Service, I can forgive any number of flaws in a game if the guns are good. Chrome's weapons are so middle of the road they almost don't need mentioning. They're the standard sci-fi fare: pistol, shotgun, SMG, assault rifle with ammunition counter. Awesome. They all have a realistic feel and similar aesthetic design, which is cool, but I can't exactly applaud realism at the expense of fun. The guns sound weak, and despite blood spray and ragdoll, they're not satisfying in any way. Usually, even the realistic games have one exotic weapon, but the best Chrome can do is an impractical and uncool laser gun. The 12mm revolver is pretty cool, I guess, as is the hunting rifle, but they're so realistic and practical as to be underwhelming. Though Chrome is similar to Far Cry, it should be considered a precursor to Crysis because you have a collection of augmentation abilities you can activate. These add variety that the guns are lacking, but they're almost useless. You start out with only 3 of the augmentations unlocked. More become available as the game progresses, and Logan acclimates to them over time. The reason they're so useless is because they overload if you use them for too long. Not being able to use your implants constantly is a reasonable restriction, but you can only use an implant for at most 20 seconds or so before overloading. And if you want to use more than one at once, cut that time in half. Using 3? Good luck. When you overload, you not only can't use your implants for a while, but you take health damage and your screen blacks out, making it a death sentence in combat. This sucks because so many of the implants work well together. In combat, you'll want to use the dermal armor for damage protection, the recoil reduction implant, and maybe the vision implant to help you locate targets. Once you get the reflex booster implant, you want to add that to the mix for bullet time. For sniping, you have the aiming improvement implant, as well as one that adds a minor zoom effect, which is very useful for sniping with weapons that don't have optics, essentially turning any weapon into a poor man's sniper rifle. The fast movement implant is the one you'll use the most, just to get from place to place in the huge outdoor environments. But otherwise, it's not worth the micromanagement to use them normally, and it's way too risky to use them carelessly. You can use blue hypo sprays to reduce overload, but they're so rare it really doesn't help. We're talking maybe 2 per level, and that's including the one you can bring along at the start of the mission. And then, they're just too valuable to actually use. In theory, the implants assimilate to Logan's body over time, but it's hard to tell what's actually going on here. At a certain point, they assimilate enough to be usable, and after that they reach tiers of assimilation. Implants seem to overload slower as they assimilate more, but I can't tell for sure, and it's not explained in the game manual because there isn't one. Even at maximum assimilation, you'll still overload in seconds, so why bother? This is pretty depressing when you consider that Logan and his lady friend spent pretty much all of their money on those augmentations for Logan.
Let's hope so. We could have bought a new propulsion system, but we're stuffing you with a bunch of wires instead.
Though, to be fair, Carrie doesn't need implants anyway. Had the implants been more carefully balanced, they would have added another angle to the overly simplistic combat system. Chrome doesn't offer many different combat actions. You can crouch, go prone, and aim your gun. There's also an awful lean feature. How bad could it be? Well, by default, it's not bound to anything in the control setup, and when you use it, you cannot fire your weapon, making it essentially useless in combat. You still have to sidestep around cover and tank damage in order to shoot. The real reason Chrome received any attention at all wasn't the story or the gameplay, but the graphics. For 2003, this game is very impressive looking, though the ragdoll effect is a little twitchy. The draw distance is great and allows for long-distance sniping, the textures are high detail, and the foliage is fantastic. Without the great trees and grass, the game's many outdoor environments would suck. There's a good variety of environment types: island tropics a la Far Cry, timberline forest, desert, spaceship, etc. The openness of the levels doesn't give you much freedom to explore because there's nothing to find, and though you can sometimes take objectives out of order, there's no reason to. There are even wild animals in some of the levels, which helps the immersion and feel of being on a real planet. I was always disappointed that Bungie nixed the wildlife from the first Halo because I think it's a nice bit of window dressing that adds flavor to the game world. There are only two kinds of animals though, the kind that attack you and the kind that don't. The open levels are broken up nicely by structures and vehicle segments. Sometimes you're the gunner for a buggy or shooting from the back of a dropship, and sometimes you drive yourself or even use the mechs. You never spend too much time indoors, and the buildings are especially impressive for the way they're designed. This has to be the only game I know of where the buildings have extra rooms. Each building can be fully explored and has side storage rooms, generator rooms, what have you. Even when the room isn't important to the objective or story, you can still go in there. It makes exploring the buildings more fun because it's less linear. If you're searching for people or items, you go through each room until you find it, instead of following a linear path comprised of blocked hallways and door textures sprayed on the wall. Outdoor areas are sprinkled with sniper towers, which break up the monotony of running through the jungle by letting you go on a sniping binge. Thanks to the spastic ragdoll, you frequently have to ride up the tower to kill the sniper, then down the tower to get the rifle from his pancaked corpse, then back up the tower to shoot one or two guys, then down the tower to get back on track. Chrome even features some great binoculars, which let you seek out targets at range before picking them off. And this reveals the fundamental problem with this game. The AI is abysmal. You can snipe endless waves of enemies, and only rarely will they even realize they're under fire. Best case scenario is they run suicidally towards you, but usually they just stand around waiting to get their brain matter introduced to a 14mm slug. In close combat, the enemies are more competent, but still far from intelligent. They're capable of yelling grenade, but rarely capable of avoiding one. They're good shots, sometimes almost too good, but they don't take cover, so you can mow them down without using any sort of advanced tactics. Stealth is encouraged, yet almost never possible, but when you do manage to get behind an enemy, they show astoundingly poor awareness. Short of shooting them or jumping up and down, you can do whatever you want, and they won't even turn to face you. Because every enemy drops a full kit on death, including weapon, ammunition, health kits, and grenades, Chrome is not a very difficult game. Open environment games like this usually foster a sense of survival, forcing you to conserve ammunition and supplies and to pick your battles carefully. Chrome never really goes deeper than basic shooting, and you can always restock completely after a fight. When this game first came out, you really paid for the huge levels and excellent graphics with very long loading times and an aggressive LOD system. This can be forgiven because not once in the entire level will you see another loading screen, even when you transition from the massive outdoor environments to massive underground complexes. The story of Chrome goes something like this. Logan and his partner Carrie are engaged in an ongoing battle to see who's more annoying when suddenly they get a contract.
Looks like dirty work to me.
You always suspect the worst.
An organization called Spaycon wants Logan to find and kill Dexon, a pirate who shot down a Spaycon transport. He tries to flee, only to suffer an ironic death. It turns out Dexon was working for Zetrox, who abducted the scientist Shybkov, who Logan now has to rescue on the planet Herbis. After saving Shybkov, who doesn't seem very happy to be rescued,
Couldn't it wait a couple more days?
What?
you get a contract to assist colonists on the planet Turbon. John Brown, leader of the colonists, asks for your help in dealing with the Hannibals, a group of raiders who have been harassing the colonists. What's worse, they also stole a huge dump truck.
Not to mention those bastards kidnapped my daughter.
How ironic. You jump right in to rescue a princess.
If Logan's voice sounds familiar, it's because he's voiced by the same guy who does Duke Nukem. Logan finds Lisa Brown, who continues the trend of not being very excited about her rescue.
What about getting rescued?
I appreciate it, but without the MSM, our colony won't survive another month.
Then the Hannibals attack the colony in force, and Logan helps fend them off, ultimately killing their leader in one of the game's many unwieldy boss battles.
You're all crossed out with a double line.
As he spouts gibberish and dies, the bandit chief hints that he's working for someone powerful.
Who hired you?
Suddenly, a new player shows up.
Cortec. That's the competition for Spaycon.
The entire management of Spaycon, your original employers in the game, have just been massacred by none other than Ron Pointer, Logan's ex-partner. Logan takes a new contract with Cortec, whose liaison, Nicole Parker, is yet another babe with a terrible voice actor. This makes 3. First order of business with Cortec is to infiltrate a Zetrox base in order to prove they're behind the Spaycon attack. Logan heads back to Herbis for the first of the game's 2 stealth missions. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, we're gonna crash! That's why you never fly a planetary lander while inebriated. On Herbis, you have to steal a Zetrox shuttle and pilot uniform, a task made ridiculously easy because every guard is carrying a spare cloaking device. After that, you infiltrate a space station, which is the hardest mission in the game. Everything that can go wrong with stealth missions goes wrong here. Your disguise only works as long as you're 20 feet or more from an NPC, and you have to be flawless to stand a chance of finishing this mission. Worse, in the cramped corridors of the space station, the cloaking device works only if you're perfectly still, so it doesn't help you get past the guards. Around this time, the romantic subplot suddenly kicks in. Before now, there were only hints, like when Carrie gets jealous of Lisa Brown, but now...
Enjoy the walk.
Next time, I'll take you with me.
That was something I hoped I'd never hear Duke Nukem say. We are running out of time, so Nicole is kidnapped, Logan goes to rescue her. Shocker. Dexon wasn't really dead, but now he is. Cortec and Babe number 4 were behind the Spacon massacre. Something about a virus you have to blow up. Pointer is still a dick, kills Nicole, gets what's coming to him, and yet another Babe shows up. This one evil. And Asian. We're up to 5. Chrome, the game, is one of those that gets better over time. The later levels are more interesting, and the endgame missions are actually pretty exciting. Even the lackluster voice acting, featuring John St. John as the voice of Logan, and a progression of whiny amateurs as the Babes, 5 in all, seems to get better. Hell, even the writing becomes less grating towards the end.
I can give your regards to them if you wish.
No, wait. The story culminates in a final showdown between the 3 factions, all vying for control of the colony. Chrome, the element, once again rears its ugly head as the driving force behind the mission.
The colonists probably didn't confess. They've been mining chrome for the past 2 months.
Gasp no. Logan, not Carrie, can choose between working for the 3 factions, his first real mercenary decision. They grow up so fast. Depending on the faction you choose to work for, you get a different mission and ending. Working for Zetrox is the middle-of-the-road choice. You protect the colony from Cortec, allowing Zetrox to profit from the discovery of Chrome, and Logan and Carrie go their separate ways after the mission. If you work for Cortec, your mission is to terrorize the colony and assassinate John Brown. This is, you might have guessed, the bad ending, and Carrie leaves in disgust as soon as Logan makes up his mind. Last of all, you can work for the colonists and help them resist the corporate takeover by Zetrox and the evil Asian lady. This leads to a surprisingly fun defense mission and the good ending, wherein Logan and Carrie awkwardly embrace on a rocky outcrop. Mission accomplished! Carrie drops a few hints about a sequel, but luckily for the integrity of all eardrums involved, the credits music drowns her out before she gets very far.
That's a long story. I'll tell you on the way there.
Chrome is a good game. Not a particularly standout one, but competent where it matters, and with some distinguishing features, mainly the graphics. Granted, the weapons aren't very satisfying, and it's not a very difficult game. When all is said and done, though, Chrome has slow-motion mech combat. What more do you need? Chrome was re-released as Advanced Battlegrounds, which is a cumbersome title that fails to generate interest. There was also a prequel, Spec Force Chrome, taking the form of a standalone mission pack and developed by a different company. Finally, in 2006, Techland announced a true sequel using a new version of the all-Java Chrome engine. Trying to find information about it on their website now reveals no information about Chrome 2 at all, but it did reveal this gem. Counter-Strike and Deus Ex mixed in one jaw-dropping game. Talk about selling yourself high! I played Deus Ex. Deus Ex is the best PC game of all time, and you, sir, are no Deus Ex. Still, Chrome is deserving of a sequel, though we'll probably never see it unless Techland does extremely well with the upcoming Dead Island and decides to dust off some old projects. That's all the life we're examining for now. Come back next week for something hopefully not from the bargain bin.
Buckle up, cowboy. 30 seconds to kaboom!